All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay. So today we're going to be looking at the Galaxy S23 versus the Pixel 7 Pro. Now, both teams have shown their hand. So we have a complete S23 lineup over here, and then we have a Pixel 7 lineup over here, meaning there's a smaller variant of these devices. So we've got the S23 Plus and the S23, and we also have the 7 and the 6A. Now, there will be a 7A at some point, so stay on the lookout for that. I'll be happy to show you that too, because I can't wait to see it for myself. But for now, we've got the two Titans. This is the best foot forward that both of these companies are offering at the recording of this video, and we are in February of 2023, and let's see how well they are doing. Now, this is the latest and greatest from Samsung, and this is the latest and greatest from Google. Now, while this dropped about almost 5 months ago, this one just recently dropped in the last few weeks of the recording of this video. So it still is time to show up and see what's going on with it. So first thing I want to do is I want to start with hardware. Now, I know hardware and design. Now, I have a skin on my Pixel 7 Pro. This is from SophieGuard.com, so be sure to hit that up if you decide to skin yours and you just want to make it look a different way. Tons and tons and tons of different options you can do to get your device looking nice and smooth or make it your own. Now, I like this dot matrix type skin because it gives it some grip. This is the Obsidian version of this device, and you know that brings something called fingerprints. Now, there are different colors in both of these devices, and so look them up online. You can see you can get a white version, a hazel version. There's different colors you can get. Again, you've got cream, green, blacks. There's all different versions you can get for both of these devices. So this is the hardware on the Pixel 7 Pro. Now, it has the camera bar, nice. This was a new direction that Google went, and everybody likes it. And I agree, this is a beautiful setup in comparison to some other options they've chosen in the past with the square box and just things of that nature. They've done a good job with this particular camera bar on the back as far as the hardware goes. And sometimes when I'm doing these comparisons, I do hate that I have a skin on it sometimes because you don't get to see the actual color of the device. But go to store.google.com and you will see exactly what the Obsidian looks like and all the colors for this device. I do plan on skinning this one as well with Sophie Guard, so be on the lookout for that because I do it just for grip, and I don't like to wear a case on my devices around the house. So, camera bar, nice round corners. You got some Google branding right in the center, and that's pretty much it. And then you flip it over to the front, and you have this very nice large display coming in at 6.7 inches. And it is absolutely beautiful. It is a LTPO AMOLED 120 Hz HDR10 Plus with a peak brightness of 1500 nits. That's the nitness. The resolution on this one is 1444 by 3120, giving you 512 pixels per inch for the people that really are into that. And this has Corning Gorilla Glass Victus. It's running Android 13, but we'll get into that in a minute. But hardware-wise, that is what you're looking at. Now, you don't have an SD card or anything. You have Type-C. You've got a stereo speaker setup. You've got different memory options from a 128 all the way up to 512 gigs of storage. You've got a 50 megapixel camera on the back with a 48 megapixel telephoto lens. That is something that I'm extremely impressed with. So we'll get over here to Samsung and show you the S23 Ultra. Now, with this device, I don't have a skin on it yet, but I do have camera lens protector. So if they look a little different than the color device, these are black, and you can grab colors for your lenses if that's what you choose to do. But they sent these over, so these are the ones I'm using. So you've got a cream color for this one. Again, it comes in different colors if that's your thing. And you've got these stainless steel sides. And Google's is the same way, pretty much. It's just theirs are colored. That's all it is. You've got an IP68 rating on both of these, I might add. So you've got these flat sides all around. You got these corners. It's a completely different design aspect. The boxy style of this device is where Samsung is going with this S line. Now, right off the rip, you do have an addition of an S Pen for added software. You can do more in the software with this device. So I just want to point that out. You do have a big 6.8 inch, again, dynamic AMOLED display, 120 Hertz, HDR10 Plus, with a peak brightness of 1750 on the nitness. And I think that's very beautiful. So, yeah, this one feels really good in the hand. And you know, the software the hardware is good. Now, internally, the Samsung offers you more memory. You can get up to a terabyte of memory with the Samsung. But as far as the options go, you have a 8 gig, 256 gig version for both of these devices. But again, you can get the Pixel all the way down to 128 gigs storage version, but 12 gigs of RAM on this one and 12 gigs of RAM on this one. So display wise, they're both beautiful, folks. But, and I'm not going to compare these based on brightness. I just feel like Samsung is known for having like some of the best displays, and Google's display is good too. They're both really good, but the Samsung display definitely shows colors. It's a little bit more vibrant at times. Even though it's just a little bit bigger, I think that boxiness almost helps the cinematic feel of watching a movie or something like that. It's just an experience, I guess. So one more internal piece of hardware I want to talk about is the processor. This is the 8 Gen 2, Snapdragon 8 Gen version 2, 4nm chip. And this is the Tensor chip, G2, 5nm chip. Now, it doesn't matter. Those are just techie things I'm throwing out there. Because I want to jump over to software now before I get into anything else. I'm running Good Lock on here on the Samsung because you don't get the vertical. Let me turn off Good Lock. I mean, because you don't get, that's not Samsung's native, so you just come in here and you go, wait, let me see, you go to, yeah, it's home screen. It's home up, yeah. So I can just turn it off here, I guess. Let me see if that does it. Yeah, this is the native look for Samsung in their app tray. And that is why I turned on Good Lock, because I like to scroll this way instead of this way. But that's the native. But Samsung gives you options to do something different with your software, and Google does, it's Android. So you have the options to do more with Android. It's just that with Samsung, it's a few more things on the device to kind of make it your own. But that doesn't mean that the software is better on Samsung. It just has more options. Like there's all these little things. And with the Ultra, you get the S Pen. You can do a lot. This can have pen input as well. It's just not native to the device where there's one on the device. But nonetheless, the software experience overall is better on the Pixel, but the Samsung software gives you more features and options. Those little things here and there, definitely having a pen on the device, that's a win, straight up and down. So while I prefer stock Android, when I'm using a Samsung, I'm totally pleased because there are so many things in the Samsung software that just makes it a little bit more enjoyable, I guess, for doing little things here and there. So, the software to me is kind of a wash, because while I prefer stock Android, Samsung brings it, man. Let's be clear. They bring it. They bring the thunder, and their software is no slouch. It will keep almost anybody entertained. So software wise, it's kind of a mixed bag for me, but it is what it is. Now, where Google dominates, I would say, is battery life. The battery life on the Pixel 7 Pro is really good. Now, they both pack big batteries, folks. They both pack big batteries, but which one is actually doing? Now, the Samsung battery, okay, let me be fair here. My S22 Ultra battery is nice and broken in. This device is a year old and it's nice and broken in, so it competes with the battery life on the Pixel 7 Pro. But the Samsung right now is still fresh, and so it's still learning. Even though the learning phase is over on the device itself, it still hasn't picked up that strong battery life for me that a lot of people are getting. So, but when it comes to the battery, they both have wireless charging. But believe it or not, the Pixel 7 Pro has 23-watt wireless charging and reverse charging as well, as long as the Samsung has reverse charging. But the wireless charging on Samsung is 15 watts. But the hardwire on here is only 23 watts of fast charging on here. And on the Samsung, you get 45 watts peak. So I don't use the native chargers that comes with these devices, because why? they don't have one. There's no charge. There's nothing in the box. So I use a 100-watt charger, and it's a smart charger, so by Anchor, so it charges at the peak of a device and what the device can actually charge at. So I can plug both of these up at the same time, and one will be charging at its peak, which will be 45 over here, and this one will charge at 23 over here. So having the same size battery, I'm not getting the best battery on the S23 Ultra, and I think that's due to the software. And you know, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip might be struggling a little bit trying to push this big display versus Google. This is Google's chip. So some would argue that Google is winning in that sense, like when it comes to Apple and their chips. You know, people say, you know, Apple's and there's no doubt that Apple's phones, like these bigger phones from Apple, they get great battery life, man. I mean, I'm talking about days. And I definitely can go days on the battery with this device right here. And also another thing that helps Google's battery life is the software is completely stock. There's nothing on here but just the stuff that I put on here, and Google's device doesn't have a lot of bloatware. Now, there's been some discussion about these system files and how much Samsung uses. And let me see if I can get that in here for you, so you can see the how much Samsung uses versus. Let me go to storage. How much memory for the system? See, Google's system is only 17 gigs, and so that's it's a lot more. Over here on Samsung, it's closer to 50 gigs or so or more. And my Z Fold has, it's got 50 some odd gigs or so. But storage here, let's go to storage, and you can see the system file here is 60 gigs. So 17 gigs versus 60 gigs, that's a huge difference. And so that's going to play some part in performance and resources. So, and it also eats up some of your storage. That's been a discussion that's kind of floating around for a little bit. But anyway, battery life, good on both, great on the Pixel 7. Definitely takes the win. Software, kind of a toss-up for me. I really prefer stock Android, and I would take stock Android any day. But if a person was to ask me, people always ask, which one would you choose? Which one would you choose? It's tough because I have them both and I have the options. I guess if I was in a place where I couldn't have them both, then I'd be able to make a realistic choice. But right now, I just like them both. So they both have something that I need. So, you know, again, software-wise, it's great. Performance is good on both. The Tensor chip, it's good, it's solid, but it's a work in progress. And the Snapdragon lineup, obviously, it's already tried and true. Everybody knows the Snapdragon lineup is going to perform depending on the device, I say. So both have beautiful screens. The Samsung obviously has way more features and options, but it's up to a user to determine if that's something that they really think is important. Now, couple more things and I'll get out of here. Price is extremely important, and you know, Google just wins. Google's 512 gig version of this device is what, $950, something like that. And the 512 gig version of Samsung's, this device in 512, is $1,400, and the terabyte is like 2,000 or whatever. So it's 1,900, something like that. So price, you know, you have more options over here. For the Pixel 7 Pro, just by one, you know, I think, and because Samsung eliminated the 128 gig model, and because that's what people wanted, but Google said no, we're going to give a 128 gig model still, and you know, we can get some pricing on that, but nonetheless, Google wins for price. Now let's get into cameras, and we're going to do that right now, and then we are going to close out. Now I'm starting with the front camera on the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. It shoots 4K 60 on the front, but it also does 8K 30 on the rear. Now we're not doing any 8K footage anytime soon, but I wanted to show you 4K 60 on the front camera real briefly, and then I'll get some footage from the Pixel 7 Pro as well. Let's go. All right, so here's the Pixel 7 Pro's front camera shooting a quick little video like I did with the S23 Ultra, and you tell me what you think about the footage here. Now here is the rear camera on the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. and tell me what you think about this quality. Just obviously sitting in the same spot, no special microphones or anything. Just the one LED light that I use to record videos with. But other than that, S23 Ultra's rear camera out here. Now here's the Pixel 7 Pro's rear camera shooting in the same location. Let me know how this stands up against Samsung's offering in this type of setting. Now we are looking at portrait style video on the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra on the rear. Advantage goes to the S23 Ultra because it does 4K 30 portrait style video. And also the quality to me is just much better than nearly every other phone that I've tested thus far. Coming forward to these devices that are newer, the S23 Ultra definitely wins for portrait style video. So let's check out the rest of the footage here. All right, now here is cinematic video on the Pixel 7 Pro. You let me know how you think this looks in comparison to what Samsung has to offer with their portrait style video. If you notice, Apple and Google use the terminology cinematic, and Samsung uses portrait, and LG uses portrait, things like that. But just let me know how this footage looks and sounds in comparison. Okay, guys, verdict is pretty much what you thought it would be when it comes to the cameras. I think the Pixel did pretty good. I think the Pixel has great video cameras. I don't know that it shows as much detail for just regular video as the Samsung does. I think the Samsung comes across a little bit more sharp. But overall, the photos turned out exactly how I thought they would be. I favor the Pixel photos because I think the colors are represented a little bit more accurate. And I did a 10 times zoom, a 5 times zoom, and then a 30 times zoom. Now, Google doesn't have a specific periscope lens, but it's using AI to produce this footage this way. So I think they've done a phenomenal job at zooming in and getting a close shot. Now, it's freezing outside, which is why I didn't do anything outside. It's really cold out there right now. Ironically enough, it was just 79 degrees yesterday, and now it's like 40-something degrees out here. So the shift in temperature is really cold when it does that. But coming up here in a little bit, it's supposed to go back to the 80s. So we shall see. But the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, folks, is a great device. No doubt whatsoever. It is proven that it has stepped on the scene and it is ready to take some heads. And the Pixel 7 Pro is a device that's everyone's gonna love. It's just one that people are gonna love. So I feel like Samsung holds their own and Google holds their own. But we're living in a social media age, and a lot of people just care about cameras at this point. And Google takes the better photos, in my humble opinion. Video is not horrible on the Pixel for regular video, but cinematic video, it's just not touching Samsung's cinematic video, in my opinion. So Google has a lot of work to do on their cinematic video. I know it was their first attempt, so I know they'll come back with 4K 30 cinematic video next time, and they'll clean it up with having better lenses and using a better setup for their AI. They'll just get better with the G2 chip, and if they go to the G3 chip next year, who knows? I don't know, but they just need to get that cinematic video in line as far as my channel goes. But the cameras on the Pixel 7 Pro are phenomenal. They're phenomenal on the 7. I've actually used the 7 and the 7 Pro to record content on the channel, just like I've done with the Ultra and every other device. I use the phones. Now, obviously, this is a Sigma lens on my Sony camera shooting this footage, but I normally would use the phones for a lot of footage if I want to show something. So, I think this is I didn't shoot this to pick a winner, if you will. Normally, I was picking winners before, but you know what? Things are so close, man. Both of these phones do so much. And one might do one thing better than the other, but that doesn't mean that the entire phone is better than the other. So, again, I favor the video on the Ultra, but the Pixels, to me, I think are phenomenal for photos. So, it's up to you to determine what you think is going to be the best run for you. But you saw the footage just like I did. I just threw it out there to you. My thoughts on both of these phones is they're both great. And I could pick either one of them if I just had to stick with it for a couple of years. I could take either one. But it's up to you to determine what you would do. I know sometimes you'll have Pixel owners favor the Pixel, and they'll say that everything was perfect on the Pixel, and you'll have Samsung owners that say that everything was perfect on the Samsung. But to me, that's just not the case. I think it's a good balance in these devices as far as battling each other. And I think you'll find that with either one, I hate to say it, you will be happy with either one. So it's your man Jay. Hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you down in the comment section because I know you guys get ready to hit it hard. Take care.